This episode of the Europuck podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest month of the college basketball calendar is finally here. Now, we don't know who will be cutting down the nets once it's all said and done, but we do know that there will be no shortage of madness. And DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog and win $256 if they win. It's really that simple, guys. There's no better way to put your college basketball knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is. And every dollar you bet on a college basketball underdog could net you $64 if they win. Sounds like a slam dunk to me. If basketball isn't your thing though, don't worry, as DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on hockey, golf, and so much more, so you can make it rain on whatever sport is your go-to. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's promo code THPN to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. A big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Hello, bonjour, hello, hi, heya, and privyet, hockey fans. Welcome back to the Europuck podcast, the show where two Brits talk all things European hockey as part of the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings. My name is Hayden, or Odd Man Rush, as you can see on the screen for the video version, and joining me, of course, once again, is the man, the myth, the legend, the stats guy, Chris Gadsby. Hey, Chris.
I was going to say, I'm not sure legend's quite right, but I think stats guy suits.
Well, Chris, you're a legend to me. How you doing today, bud?
Yes, not too bad, not too bad. Looking forward to talking hockey and looking at... I've just been staring at this screen here all day, and I'm kind of going screen blind, so now I'm looking at a completely different screen, so...
Hey, yeah, so now you can go screen blind for a different one.
Yay!
Anything interesting happen over the last week, Chris, in usual lockdown times? Anything fun? Anything interesting?
No.
I mean,
it was Mother's Day, but
true.
Kind of can't. It wasn't normal Mother's Day, was it? But
no.
Nothing that exciting. Watched the Lions on TV on Saturday lose 7-6.
Yeah, it was a close game. I was keeping up to date with the Twitter score because they went down, then they managed to take the lead, and then they lost the lead, and then ended up losing by a 1-goal margin. It was something like that, wasn't it?
It was something like that. We took the lead in 24 seconds.
Wow.
Went 3-1 up, and then lost the lead, got the lead back, and then lost it again.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And now it's the rematch on Saturday. So
nice.
Same team, just at our place. So.
But you got to give credit to the Nottingham Lions this year. Like, they've been in both of the games they've played. And you know what? That is a huge improvement from some of the previous games they've played in seasons prior,
Yeah, I think it's going to get more difficult now because, well, we've played every team now. So we played 3 games. Mm-hmm. So every team knows what we're about.
Yep.
But also in that last game, we lost our captain due to injury.
Right.
And then one of our promising youngsters due to a triple collarbone break.
Oh, ouch.
Not nice. So yeah, we've lost a couple of kind of key players, but we'll see how things go in the other 3 games.
It's injuries like that where I'm happy that I'm like a fan of the sport and somebody that doesn't play it, because I feel like I'd be the guy that gets injured all the time.
Yeah,
and like that would be, and I wouldn't make it to the NHL or the KHL, nothing like that. I'd be playing it like because I enjoy it, but then I'd end up with like 7 different injuries that like damage me for the rest of my life. It's kind of like I'd rather not. Like, I'd rather just sit there and enjoy the sport, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. So before we get into the playoffs and all of the exciting hockey that we've got throughout Europe, because since last episode, we've got several other different leagues that are now well into their first round of their playoffs. We've got lots of postseason hockey to talk about. I would just like to first mention the news that the Dynamo St. Petersburg defenseman Timur Feyzudinov, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name properly. It's a very difficult one, and it's a Russian name, so us English speakers, we find them difficult in the first place. There was some really tragic news coming out of the KHL and the MHL, which is the junior league in Russia. A 19-year-old defenseman for Dynamo Moscow's junior team. He took a puck to the head during a game against Loco in Yaroslavl, and he received a fatal head injury because of it on March 12th. He was sent to hospital and he was kept in hospital for quite a while. I remember reading some reports, I should say, that the family asked to move him elsewhere, but the doctors weren't sure if that was a good idea because of the condition that he was in. And unfortunately, he didn't make it through, and he's passed away tragically at the age of 19. I know it's kind of a not the happiest note to begin the podcast on, but Chris reminded me of it just before we started, and I wanted to make sure we got it out there before we forgot, because I don't want it to be an afterthought. Like, the kid was 19 years old, and it's such a terrible situation for both him and his family, especially his family, to have witnessed. But before I get your thoughts, Chris, I just also want to send, obviously, my deepest condolences to the family and his friends and everybody that was a part of his life. But also, I'm not 100% sure who it was, but the player that ended up dumping the puck that led to the head injury. I feel so sorry for him as well, because it's not as if this was an intentional thing that happened. He didn't deliberately shoot the puck at him in an aggressive way. It was a typical hockey play that happens millions of times throughout any regular season in the sport. It just so happened that this one ended up taking the life of a 19-year-old. So I want to send my thoughts to the person that shot the puck in as well, because he didn't mean for this to happen, and I cannot imagine how he must be feeling right now either. So, Chris, is there anything else you want to add on this?
No, I mean, I echo your thoughts a lot on that, really. And I think it's one of these things where you just never think it's going to happen. As you say, the equipment and everything is so good now. And as you say, it's a play that happens so often in a game and, thousands of times over the course of a season that you can just don't think anything of it. As you said, there wasn't malicious or anything, and it was just a horrendous accident. But you wouldn't have thought that. I mean, even 10 seconds before this happened, it's just a normal game of hockey, and then it changes in that way. But very sad, and as I say, not the best way to start the podcast, but speak about it first, then we can move on to the rest of the hockey and what we're really about here. Exactly,
yeah. Just wanted to make sure we gave this youngster his chance, his time in his recognition, because obviously he's a 19-year-old in the Russian league. He wasn't the most well-known player in terms of the international hockey world, and it's so unfortunate that his name has been brought to the forefront for such a tragic reason. But nonetheless, he deserves his moment to be remembered and to be appreciated for what he did during his time as a hockey player. And once again, it kind of echoes back to the Alexei Sharapanov situation that the KHL dealt with in their debut year. 19-year-old kid who tragically passed away during the first season in KHL history. And it's kind of like, these are things that, like you said, Chris, you never expect them to happen. They're never something that you think, oh, when I watch a hockey game today, I'm going to expect something like this to happen. Yes, it's a contact sport, but like, once again, you mentioned, Chris, there's so much emphasis on safety and looking after players nowadays because of the ongoing conditions that these players might receive through a life of hockey, or that they used to receive that went undiagnosed because we didn't understand it at the time, that it's so important nowadays that all of this stuff and all of the health and safety of players is paramount to league. So the fact that this still happened and on such a freak play as well is terrible. It's horrible for everybody involved, whether it be the family or friends of him, whether it be the teams involved, the league involved. Like, it sucks for everybody. It's terrible, and we just send our best wishes to the family and friends, because it's going to be a difficult time for them, but, hopefully they get through it and they can find some happiness later on. So let's move on quickly to some hockey, some actual games that have been played. Talk about some playoffs. The second round of the KHL playoffs, keeping it in Russia, is about to begin. It's supposed to begin today. I think some games might be being played as
They are underway now, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just take you through the final standings of the first round, and then, Chris, if you want to, and then I'll take you through the second round seedings and everything. And then if you want to give us any updated scores, then we can come back to them at the end.
Okay.
And things like that. So the first round of the playoffs, we'll start with the Kazan Torpedo Series, a sweep by Kazan, I should say. Not really surprised. They were the first seed, second best team in the entire league. Makes sense to me. Then Salavat Yuleev took on fifth seeded Tractor, and in 5 games, Salavat Yuleev, the fourth seed, managed to take the victory. So the first bracket in the second round is Akbars Kazan versus Salavat Yuleev. That's going to be a fun series to watch. Then you've got Avangard Omsk, the second seed of the Eastern Conference, versus Avtoy Mobilist. Another 5-game series, this time in Omsk's favour. And then the final series in the Eastern Conference, Metallurg Magnitogorsk, the third seed, against Baris Nur Sultan, the sixth seed. A 6-game series, so no series went to 7 games. It was all a 4, 5, or 6-game series, and Magnitogorsk took that series 4 games to 2. So that means that the other brackets, so the 2 brackets in the Eastern Conference, Akbars Kazan versus Salavat Yuleev, then Avangard Omsk versus Magnitogorsk. So you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 seed there. I mean, based on how you would expect things to go, it's kind of following the trend. Then we move to the Eastern Conference, and we have, or the Western Conference, I should say. Then we have CSKA Moscow, the first seed, best team in the regular season this year, swept Spartak Moscow, the 8th seed. No surprises there whatsoever. Then we have the surprising one that Chris and I talked about last week, Lokomotiv Yaroslavl against Jokerit, another 4-game sweep in the Western Conference. Lokomotiv managed to get the job done there. So CSKA and Moscow are playing Lokomotiv in the second round. Then SK St. Petersburg, the second seed, took on Dynamo Minsk in the first round, a 5-game series, although it was very close between the two sides. Judging by the way that went as it went along, I would not have been surprised if that went to 6 or 7 games. And then Dynamo Moscow against Sevastol Sharapovets, a 5-game series for them also. So the 2 brackets in the Western Conference, we have CSKA Moscow versus Lokomotiv and SK St. Petersburg against Dynamo Moscow. So once again, the first, second, third and fourth seed. So very much sticking to the script, you would say, for the KHL playoffs after the first round. Interestingly, that in the Western Conference, the losing team only won 1 game, at least in any of their series, and there was only 1 6-game series, Chris. So give us your thoughts on the first round and the kind of matchups in the second round, then give us any updated live scores that we have as we go along.
My initial thoughts was that it was very boring because everything just went to form. Like there are some brackets which we'll get to in other leagues which are just brilliant.
Yes.
And because of what was been going on, if we'll just look at the period, so yeah, these will finish by the time we finish this episode. Akbars Kazan are currently 3-1 up at the halfway point, and CSK Moscow and Lokomotiv Yaroslavl are just a couple of minutes shy of the halfway point, and they're still deadlocked at no goals each. Yeah, I mean, we reported on the 3 sweeps last week because if you remember, they finished just as we finished recording.
Yes.
And we rounded up at the end of last week. I was slightly surprised, I suppose, at the Salavat Yuleev against Tractor games, but I think as we said there again, because we recorded on, the 9th, they'd shut Tractor out in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, they didn't really come to it. Metallurg against Baris, I think, was the best series. Metallurg just turned it on, so it was tied at 2. And then Metallurg, they put 5 past them in games 5 and 6 to get past there. I think the only other thing really worth talking about is, as you said, it's the St. Petersburg Dynamo Minsk series, where you look at it, and I think we discussed this again last week, how, again, St. Petersburg took game 5 in overtime. I think because there's only 1 goal between them on so many occasions. Quickly flick through.
It was such a back and forth series.
2 of them was over. Yeah, 2 overtime. So 2 of the games went to overtime. So yeah, it was a really back and forth series, and I think Minsk, they really gave themselves. I don't think 4-1 really gives Minsk the credit they deserve.
No, not at all.
But everything's kind of run to form. First versus fourth, second versus third everywhere in the KHL. So hopefully those games are a bit tight to get some longer series, and maybe a third or a fourth seed can sneak through somewhere just to make it a little bit more interesting. Yeah,
for sure. I think, I completely agree with what you say about Dynamo Minsk. Like, they had a tough job going up against the second seed in their conference, obviously. Now, we mentioned last week and in the several weeks before that St. Petersburg weren't necessarily the strongest second seed, being the fact that they would have ranked 4th overall in the conference if it weren't for the way that the divisions were set up. So they might have had a slightly easier task than some of the other brackets. But I would give absolute credit to Dynamo Minsk. They might not have got it done. They might have been 1 goal shy far too many times for them to be able to clinch it. But that could have easily. Obviously, some of you will know that I am a big SK St. Petersburg fan. They're my KHL team. Like that, Minsk made it such a close series between these two teams, and I would give them absolute credit for the way that they played. I'm surprised that Sharapovets managed to get a game in there. Now, obviously, they were the 6th seed, so maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I mean, Dynamo Moscow, they have 2 of the highest scorers in the league this year. You would expect them to be kind of scorching it up against a slightly weaker team like Sharapovets, and they ended up doing so. But yeah, it's just kind of like, we've said so many times this season, and we've seen it over the last few years in the KHL, there is still quite a disparity between the top teams and the bottom teams. And I feel like the first round of the playoffs this year is the prime example of that. The only thing, like you mentioned, that surprises me is both the 4th and 5th seed, the 5th seed contests in the Western and the Eastern Conference, that only one game was won by the losing team, which is strange considering that's probably the closest matchup that we should get in these type of playoffs. So, yeah. Anything you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, just Jokerit never showed up to the series. They scored 3 goals in 4 games.
Yeah. And they got shut out in the first 2, didn't they? I believe they got shut out by Eddie Pasquale.
They lost the third 3-2. Yeah, they lost the third 3-2 and then the fourth 4-1. They just never showed up.
Yeah,
so.
And I mean, they're usually a team that will make it to at least the second round, so they obviously didn't quite have it this year. To be fair, like we mentioned last week, Jokerit, they had their fair share of struggles this year, so some might argue the fact that they even made it to the postseason is a bit of a miracle in and of itself, because, I mean, teams like Dinamo Riga that had their fair share of problems also didn't quite make it themselves. So, but yeah, so there's nothing quite yet to report in terms of the second round of the playoffs. We were thinking about recording this yesterday, because the second round hadn't quite started yet. We decided, it is, by the way, Wednesday the 17th of March. I probably should say that. Date the podcast, why not? We decided to wait until the second round actually got started, which, as you know, it has now, so we could give you some updates on some of the scores and how some of the teams are doing, rather than just sit there and go, this is the end of the second round, or the first or second round, or whatever. So that's the KHL. I feel like we need to do some predictions once this round is over, maybe once the conference finals get started, maybe have a little chat, because I'm fully expecting the first seed from either conference to go through, but after that, I feel like it's kind of a crapshoot, really. Like, anybody could go through. So Omsk, Magnitogorsk, St. Petersburg, Dynamo Moscow, either of them could go through, in my opinion. I definitely think that Kazan and CSKA are going through, though, because they've just been so dominant this last year, and for the last few years, to be fair. So let's move on to a league that has now started their playoffs, which they hadn't last week when we looked at them, and that is the Czech Extraliga. And this has been quite an interesting playoffs so far. Starting with the first round, we've got some upsets already taking place here. So Chris mentioned last week, and when I checked flash scores, it was a good thing that I did before we started, because it reminded me. First round is three wins to go through, so it's a best of 5.
Best of 5.
Best of 5. So the very obvious one that some of you might see on the screen right now is the fact that the 12th seeded HC Olomouc managed to shut out HC Pulzen, the 5th seed. So now Sparta Prague will be playing in the quarterfinal round against Olomouc. So the 1st and 12th seed are going at it in that second round of the playoffs, which is crazy. Then you had Mountfield HK sweep Litvinov. So the 6th seed beat the 11th seed. 3-0, easy sweep. So Liberec is going up against Mountfield. So 2 Champions Hockey League alumni going up against each other, which should be a lot of fun. Then Kometa Brno, the lower seed, managed to narrowly take the series 3-2 in the best of 5 against the 8th seeded Vitkovice. So Kometa Brno, the 9th seed, is going up against the 2nd seed Trinec. And then last but certainly not least, the 7th seed Pardubice took down the 10th seed Karlovy Vary 3-1, so only 4 games needed in that series. And Mlada Boleslav is going up against Pardubice, the 3rd and 7th seed. So just to remind you, the quarterfinal brackets, second round brackets, Sparta Prague versus Olomouc, Liberec versus Mountfield HK, Trinec versus Kometa Brno, and Mlada Boleslav versus Pardubice. Chris, what are your thoughts on the first round of the Czech Extraliga?
Yeah, quarterfinals are best of 7. They revert to best of 7
yes,
now.
That's true.
Just so everyone knows that. I was really surprised at some of them. I'm going to start with what I'm going to call the 2-1 bracket.
Okay.
Which is Vitkovice against Kometa Brno.
Okay.
The first 4 games, which were split 2-2, were all 2-1.
Ah, wow. Jeez.
So Vitkovic won their 2 home games 2-1. Then Commenter Brno won their 2 home games 2-1. 3 of those 4 games went to overtime as well.
Jeez.
And then Commenter got it done in the deciding game by 3 goals to 1. So kind of slightly broke it, but the first 4 games were all 2-1, which I found quite good. And the other one, which obviously we've got to talk about, is the fact that Pilsen just did not show up to these playoffs.
No.
They got completely swept by Olomouc, which I found really quite surprising. I wasn't expecting it. Olomouc, they came in on a half-decent run of form, I suppose. They lost the 2 games going into the playoffs, but they had won 3 straight before that. And they just knew how to turn it up. What I found, what's even more surprising to this, I suppose, is that the final game of the regular season, which was on the 7th, so the playoffs started on the 10th.
Yeah.
The final game of the regular season was on the 7th. Do you want to know who Olomouc played on the 7th?
I'm imagining it's Pilsen.
Do you want to know the score?
See, I was going to be interested about this because I wasn't expecting us to find this out now, but I would have been really curious to know the regular season series between Pilsen and Olomouc to see if they're
I mean, I can find the regular season.
Yeah,
series
just to see if Olomouc dominated them in the regular season as well, and maybe it was quite a favourable matchup for them because they'd played well against them, or whether it was a case of Pilsen had dominated them all year and this was a real surprise. But so in that game,
this was quite a real surprise.
Really?
I'll be honest. So what we've got that's 3. So the regular season finished 3-1 to Pilsen.
Okay.
And as I said, they played each other the final game of the season.
I feel is that going to be is that going to be the one that Olomouc won? No.
Pilsen won. So on the 7th,
yep.
So which is what? That was 10 days ago. That's what, Sunday?
3 days before they played each other again for the playoffs.
Yeah, so Sunday the 7th of March, Pilsen won 9-1.
Oh my lord,
and
wow.
Then on the 10th, 11th and 13th, Olomouc beat them.
It just goes to show you it's not how you start, it's how you finish, eh, folks?
Yeah, so that's, this is what I love about the playoffs in particular, covering lots of leagues, is finding stuff like that. When they just got it completely handed to them on the final day of the season, and then in the space of a week later, they've swept them out the playoffs.
Absolutely. So, Chris, the next question I have for you regarding the Czech Extraliga is, obviously, we've had the likes of Olomouc, Mountfield HK, Kometa Brno and Pardubice have all played at least 3 games in the last 10 days, whereas the likes of Sparta Prague, Liberec, Trinec and Mlada Boleslav haven't played since the end of the regular season now because they got that first round bye. Do you think that some of the teams that swept their opponents or managed to get narrow character, moral victories against their opponents and managed to narrowly get themselves into the second round, dominate the first round and book themselves a ticket? Who do you think this is going to favour here, this situation? Do you think that the top 4 seeds are going to be well rested and have enough in them? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a slower start for them because they haven't had game time over the last week or so? Or do you think this might be a case of the lower seeds might be able to jump in here, ride the momentum that they're on, especially the likes of Mountfield and Olomouc with their 3-game sweeps, and maybe go on to upset the higher seeds? What do you think? Because obviously this is a discussion that can be had about a lot of different leagues because a lot of leagues do this first round bye. So what are your thoughts?
I think it's... there's 2 ways of looking at it. You can look at it that teams like Olomouc are on a real high at the moment. And then you can look at it that there's because they've swept it, there's a longer gap before the second round.
True. Yeah, good point.
Now, the Czech Extra League does change it slightly in the sense that the Sparta Prague series starts on the 20th,
right.
At which point Liberec and Mountfield HK have played 2 of their games already. So there's quite a bit of a difference between when it starts. It's not like the NHL where they all started at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they haven't played for a week, which, I mean, I think if you look at they did really well to get past Pilsen. What were they? They were 13. Hang on. I got 13 points. Yeah, so they were Olomouc. They were 13 points behind 11th place, and they were 32 points behind Pilsen. and they've swept them out.
Wow.
So now they're coming up against Sparta Prague, and they were 49 points behind Sparta Prague. Now, obviously, my gut instinct is that Sparta Prague will have too much for them.
Yeah.
But the flip side is that Sparta Prague haven't played a competitive game for about a fortnight now.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So that might be the case of. Of course, that might not be the primary reason that seals the series or whatever, but like we mentioned, like we see it within the NHL all the time when teams have taken a week off or they've been on the COVID protocol list or whatever and they've had games cancelled or games rescheduled. When teams sweep or they get a first round bye, it takes them a little bit longer. It takes them at least a period or so to finally get their footing in a lot of these series because they simply haven't played competitive hockey for an extended period of time. You kind of get out of that rhythm a little bit. Because it's like with the preseason training camp, there's only so much you can do in practice because you don't want to go full speed, full pelt in practice because you don't want to injure your own players, do you?
It wouldn't surprise me if Olomouc perhaps like split the opening 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't think that they'd have enough over a 7-game series. I think Sparta Prague, yes, they've had a break, but they'll get past it. That's my gut instinct anyway. I think, again, because Sparta Prague and Trinek, who have got 9th seed Cometa Brno, were just so dominant throughout the course of the regular season. I think like a break is not going to be so big for them. Everything else kind of ran to form. It's the only 5-game series with victories against Cometa Brno, but that was 8th versus 9th. You kind of expect that. And it was the higher seeds that went through elsewhere. So I'm going to be watching with interest that Sparta Prague Olomouc series. So the second round starts tomorrow as we're recording. So by the time this comes out, a couple of games. You'll have the first game of Liberec against Mountfield and the first game of Mlada Boleslav against Pardubice will have taken place.
Nice. Now, it is interesting. The Vitkovice Cometa Brno series is kind of what we expected from the 4th, 5th seed matchups in the KHL. Well, at least one league lived up to the kind of hard fought, like close seeds going at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. I'm rooting for Olomouc to win the playoffs. I'm calling it now. Will they win it? Will they win it? Probably not.
About the playoffs, that sort of thing.
Yes, like these miracle stories. It's like
That's what I love about the playoffs.
Yeah, the LA Kings when they came in as the 8th seed and they managed to become the first 8th seed to win the Stanley Cup. The St. Louis Blues that, went on their miracle run towards the second half of the season to win the Stanley Cup. Those stories, you live for it, except if you're the team losing in the finals. Let's move on to another league that has their playoffs started, and that is the Ice Hockey League in Austria/Europe. So we have the 4 different playoff brackets here. I'll take you through each of them, and Chris, I'll get your thoughts. I'm not quite sure if this is a best of 5 or a best of 7 series. Chris, you'd have to update me on that.
It is best of 7.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking so because there is one 3-0 series lead, and if that were the case, one of the teams would have moved over to the semi-finals. But anyway,
it's 7.
First seed Bolzano. Now, Chris reminded me last week that the top teams got to pick their opponents. That's why the first seed isn't playing the 8th seed, etc., etc. So, HC Bolzano playing against the Bratislava Capitals, 2-1 series lead for HC Bolzano, the first seed in the entire competition. Not really any surprise there. Then second seed Klagenfurt up against Villach and the second versus 8th seed, 2-1 series lead there also. The kind of interesting or the upset of the first round so far, we've got third seed Red Bull Salzburg losing to 7th seed Dornbirn by 2-1. And then the only potential sweep of the first round, we have the Vienna Capitals against Fehérvár AV19, the 4th and 5th seed, 3-0 series lead. So by this time next week, we'll obviously know who's gone through to the semi-finals, and I would imagine we will have several games of the semi-finals been played. Chris, what are your thoughts on the Ice Hockey League?
Yeah, I suppose it depends. Like, if some of these go 7 games, then we won't know. But,
true, fair point.
I've got 2 things I want to say. Firstly, the sweeping potential of Vienna against Fehérvár. Now, Fehérvár, it was 6-1 in the first game. They have been bringing that back. The last 2 were 1-goal games. And Fehérvár, if you remember from the winners stage, they came bottom of the winners stage and really struggled. They're the team that dropped from 3rd down to 5th in the winners stage, and that struggle has carried over into the playoffs. So there's that to mention. Also to mention Dornbirn as well, who are playing really well against Red Bull Salzburg. 2-0 win and a 2-0 win and a 6-3 win. They went 2-0 up. Salzburg have now pulled a game back. Again, they really struggled in that losers stage, but seem to be pulling it around in the playoffs. And then the other thing is Bolzano against Bratislava. Now, Bolzano picked Bratislava as their opponents and then lost the first game for 2-1. And I bet there were some people and some fans there that were kind of tugging at their collars going, we made the right decision here. I'm not so sure about this.
Yeah.
Managed to answer back well 2 days later, winning by 7-2. And you thought, okay, things are going back to normal now, and winning last night by 2-1 to give them that 2-1 lead. So Bratislava giving them a good series to start with, but Bolzano potentially might have a little bit too much for them. If you look at that and you look at so Bolzano going through, you would think Ferivar are struggling. Bratislava, of course, they're the other side that aren't Austrian. So, or was it Villa? Bratislava, because they're Slovakian. So if Bolzano obviously knock Bratislava out and Ferivar, they get swept. It'll be interesting to see who loses to Bolzano in the final. If Bolzano get to the final and become Austrian champion, lose in the finals, get a trophy anyway.
Oh, congratulations.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this is literally just kind of letting those quarterfinals kind of play out, really. Because, of course, with best of 7 series, it takes a fortnight for them to play.
Yes.
So, we'll just kind of let that pan out, really.
And especially with playoff hockey, it's very difficult for teams to win 2 games in a row. We see it with the regular season when there's home and homes or back-to-backs where 2 teams play each other. Unless that one team is clearly head and shoulders above the other one, or they've just got that other team's number, it's very rare that you see one team win both games or kind of dominate their opposition in both games. So the fact that...
the other thing that's interesting in the Austrian league, and I haven't come across anywhere else that's done it, they don't do they do home ice advantage, but they don't do it in the same way as everybody else does. So they alternate every game.
Oh, okay.
So whereas normally you'd have like the first 2 at home, then the next 2 away, then home away, home.
Yeah.
Here, they're doing home away, home away, home away. So that's another thing that Austria just decide to do differently to everybody else.
You mean, wait, Chris, you're telling me that the Austrian league like to do things differently just for the sake of doing them differently? Oh, I never would have guessed.
You wait till we get to the French league later on.
Oh, yeah. We've got a lot to talk about regarding that. So that was a look at the Austrian league. Obviously, they're still very much in their early stages. Let's move on to the league that's kind of got the furthest in their playoffs so far, and that is the Polish Hockey League. And there's some interesting, once again, some more interesting results going on here. Yeah,
it's going really well here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously talked about the first round of the playoffs last week. Meant the second round, Tichy versus Krakow and Jastrzębie versus Katowice. Now, interestingly, the first seed Tichy, who dominated the regular season, and the 6th seed Krakow, they're tied 2-2. The 6th seed Krakow managed to beat the 3rd seed Torun in the first round and have managed to keep things pretty close against Tichy. Now, to be fair, Krakow have been one of the better teams in the Polish league over the last few years. They've been a regular Champions Hockey League contestant, so seeing them doing well in the postseason doesn't surprise me so much compared to some of these other teams. But, give them credit. They're currently tied in the series with the undisputed champion of the Polish league, who was very much up there and head and shoulders above everybody else. And then in the other bracket for the semi-finals, 2nd seeded Jastrzębie, more on script with what you would expect. 3-1 up over 4th seeded Katowice. So, Chris, your thoughts on the second round of the Polish league?
Yeah, so the first round was done before we recorded last week. So that was all finished. Katowice, to be fair to them, managed to avoid the sweep. They went 3-0 down, losing 4-3, 2-1 and 4-1. They managed to win the game last night. So they're playing again on Friday evening, so after this comes out. But as you said, it's that Tichy Krakow lineup. So Krakow, they took the lead 1-0 in the series by winning 5-2. Tichy brought it back. Then Tichy went 2-1 up, and then Krakow brought it back by winning 3-1. So they are playing on Friday and on Sunday, guaranteed. And then I'm guessing of next Tuesday, based on everything else. So it might be worth, whether we record on Tuesday or Wednesday next week might depend on that bracket, so we can say what happens. But yeah, fair play to Krakow.
Yeah, I mean, Once again, I always love a good underdog story. So, like, if they make it through, I'm going to be happy for them, you know? Do they have enough to last the 7-game series against Tishi? Who knows? We'll have to find out over the next week or so. But you know what? As things stand, 4 games into the 7-game series, they're giving it a good shot. And that's all you can really ask from the 6th seed. So fair play to them. Let's move on to the final league that we usually cover on this show that is about to enter or has entered their playoffs, and that is the Danish Meta League, and they have entered their playoffs. They have played some games. So by the looks of it, we've got some teams. It's a pretty best
of 7.
Yes, pretty lopsided first round for the most part. So the Rungsted Sea Capitals, my boys, first seed. 3-0 up against the 8-seeded Reduvra Mighty Bulls. Sondersjijk, the 4th seed, are 3-0 up on the Herning Blue Fox, and the Aalborg Pirates, the 2nd seed, are up 3-0 on the Herlev Eagles, who are the 7th seed. The only series so far that has the opposition actually winning a game is the Esbjerg Energy and the Frederikshavn 3rd seed, 6th seed matchup, 2-1. So Chris, what are your thoughts about the Danish Metaligaen?
Yeah, so that only 2-1 Frederikshavn, they were 2-0 down. They won in overtime last night.
Wow.
To make that series 2-1. Everything else, as you said, is following kind of order. I will just say I'll round up the regular season, because when we recorded last week, there was one round of fixtures.
Oh, sure.
Left.
I'll bring up the fixtures.
If you remember, it was 4th, 5th, and 6th. So Sondersjijk, Herning, and Frederikshavn that could shift a bit.
Yes.
Now, Sondersjijk, they got the victory over Rungsted, who may well have been resting themselves for the playoffs. So Sondersjijk stayed in 4th, and then Herning beat Frederikshavn in overtime to stay 5th and 6th. So
wow.
The standings didn't change from when we recorded the podcast last week. So the playoff bracket matches last week's episode of the podcast. And again, as I say, and everything kind of going to form, really. I think the games are close is the only other thing I would say.
Yeah.
So the first game between Rungsted and Reduvra took the lead, and Rungsted needed overtime to get past them there. And they've only won by 2 goals in the other games as well. And then in game 2, that was an empty net goal. And in game 3, I'm not sure if it was an empty net goal, but it went in with 3 seconds to go, so it may well have been.
Okay.
So everything has stayed close, and I think some of these games, like again, if you look at Sondersjijk Herning, 4-2, 4-3, okay, 6-3 is slightly further away from it, but these are close games. They're not being knocked for 6 every single time. So there's some potentially interesting semi-final matchups between these teams, because everything's kind of going quite close.
Which you would hope for when playoff hockey comes around, because it's supposed to be the best of the best, right? Like, you don't want, especially when it gets later into the series, you don't want 4-game sweeps. That's not fun for anyone involved. You want, obviously...
And it is...
Go for it.
I was going to say, it does look as though it's going to go to form in terms of Rungsted 1st seed, Sondersjijk 4th seed, Aalborg 2nd seed, and Esbjerg 3rd seed. So it does look like it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Which should make out for some really good games further down the line.
Yes, although it's a 7-game series, and it gives teams a chance that if they manage to catch a lightning in a bottle and manage to get it going for the rest of the series, they might be able to go through. That's the fun of the playoffs. The team might be 3-0 up, but it's not until the final buzzer sounds on that series that you're guaranteed a place through. So that's all of the playoff series that we need to look at this week, and all the playoff in playoff leagues and the leagues that are in the postseason. Let's shift back to the regular season for a lot of different leagues. We have about 4 or 5 leagues to talk about. Let's start with the Swedish Hockey League. So I will take you through the standings of the Swedish Hockey League. We have 2 teams that have secured themselves a berth, first round bye, I should say. First round bye in the Swedish Hockey League, because they have played very, very well compared to the rest of the competition. There's not many games left in the Swedish Hockey League as far as I'm aware either. So
the Swedish Hockey League is a 52-game season, runs to the end of this month. So a couple of weeks left to run. It's a 52-game season, so teams like Frölunda have only got 2 games left, but it runs a bit longer because there's some teams that have got like 5 to play.
Good point.
Not a massive amount has changed. So the only movement is Lulea, who have dropped 2 places since last week.
Wow.
They've dropped to 6th, while Orebro and Frölunda have both climbed a place. So that's what's happened now. I believe it's because, predominantly it's because Frölunda and Orebro have played games and Lulea haven't.
Right.
But Lulea, as you see, have got 2 games in hand, so they could make that back up. There's now a 9-point gap between 7th and 8th.
Wow.
Which with only 15 points available is a big gap to make up. So realistically, for those first round buys, you're looking at obviously the 2 that have already made it. You're looking at the 4 that are in there at the moment and Lexans. So it's going to be 4 out of those 5, you would say, that are going to get a first round buy. And then likewise with HV71 at the bottom, they need to make up 8 points on everybody else. There's only 15 available, so it's probably likely that they're going to stay in that play out section.
Yeah, it's not looking good for HV71, let's just put it that way.
No.
But the team that really interests me is the Malmo Redhawks, because they've got about 8 games left in the season. They've got more games than anyone else, and they've gone on a bit of a winning streak over the last few weeks or so. So, I mean, they're only 1 point back from the 9th seed.
Obviously,
the chances of them making it to a first-round bye spot...
7-game winning streak.
Wow, nice.
So, I mean, in terms of a first-round spot, there's 24 points available. Yeah. They're 18 points back, so they would need to win every game on the way in and hope that people lose every game on the way in. So I think that's unlikely.
Yes.
I think to be honest, even 9 points to catch Färjestad in 8th place is a slight long shot.
Although to be fair, if Malmo make up their games in hand and keep their winning streak going, they will be equal with Färjestad. So it's obviously more likely.
I think Leksands is. I think Leksands is too far for them, but I think 8th spot they might have their eye on.
That's what I'm thinking. You see, they've got the opportunity because they're on a hot streak at the moment. Obviously, when teams go on hot streaks, it takes a lot out of the players, and there could be a situation where they then go on a 3 or 5 game losing streak after that, because that's just the way hockey goes, Malmo is going to be an interesting one. But just to round it up, so Rögle and the Växjö Lakers, 94, 93 points respectively. Rögle's only got 3 games left, whereas Växjö have 5 games left this season. So Växjö could very well take first place. They have a couple of games in hand. Yeah. Then Skellefteå, Åbro, Frölunda, and Luleå are the final kind of first round bye positions. Then Leksands, Färjestad, Djurgården, and Malmo in the first round of the playoffs, a playoff spot. Linköpings and Oskarshamn are the teams in no man's land, although Linköpings is kind of out of it now, you could say, because they've played 5 more games and they're 2 points back. Then you have Brynäs IF and HV71 in the play-out round. Whether they're going to have that this year because of COVID, we don't know 100%, but that's the way it looks in the Swedish Hockey League at the moment. So we're finally getting some teams securing some berths, whether that be first-round buys, where I would not be surprised by this time next week to see a lot more arrows, whether they're up or down on this list, because, they've only got a few more games to play. But that's the Swedish Hockey League. So let's move on to the Finnish Liga now. So nothing's been confirmed in the Finnish Liga still, because obviously they took a bit of a break during their season due to the COVID situation. But they've managed to we've got some teams that are playing really well. We've got some teams that are playing not so well. And I've noticed down here, apparently the Finnish Liga has said that the final order of the teams is decided by the percentage gain of points. I don't know when they added that, flash scores, but they've added it. So there you go. So let me take you through the standings, then I'll get Chris' thoughts and any movement in the standings. So first place, we have Lukko, 99 points in 48 games. Second place with 90 points, although they are on a pretty good winning streak, IFK Helsinki, 90 points in 46 games. TPS Turku also on a very strong winning streak, 89 points, so they're keeping themselves up there as well. You then have Tapara Tampere, the Lahti Pelicans, and Karpat all taking the first round bye spots as it stands right now. The Pelicans have managed to jump on a bit of a winning streak also. Then you've got Eels, Kalpa, Kuku, and Vassen Sport, all pretty close. Well, I mean, I'd say 6th to 8th is close. Then there's a bit of a drop off from 8th to 9th, which has been the case for the last few weeks. So Kuku and Vassen Sport are kind of securing the final playoff berths as it stands right now. But that said, there is a bit of a gap between 10th and 11th and the teams outside of the playoffs. Already 11-point difference between Vassen Sport and Assad. Then the teams outside the playoffs, you've got 11th seed Assad, Hämeenlinna, Saipa, Jukurit, and JYP Jyväskylä. That said, JYP have won their most recent game and Jukurit have won their last 2 games. So I mean, for the bottom 3 teams, the chances of them making the playoffs, highly, highly unlikely. But we're starting to see, we got to the point in the Finnish Liga season that we're actually starting to see the teams that are going to be making the playoffs, aren't we, Chris?
Yeah, we are. I'm just going to try and have a look, because there should be, because I've obviously got written down that the season runs to the 13th of April. I'm wondering if they have now decided that they're not going to get everything in, and they're just going to run it up to a cutoff date that they feel they need to start the playoffs, and just go on the percentage gain, which kind of I do understand, because obviously if you run the regular season on and on and on. In fact, so here, I just clicked on Cyper, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they've had games postponed, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games left, whereas they should have. So that's only going to take them to 54. So obviously, I think people are just going to play different games. They're going on points per game tally. So let's have a look at the movements from last week. So you've got Kuiper and Tappara in 4th and 8th of SWAT. That seems wrong. I think I meant Karpat 4th and 6th. And Asat. I did this morning at about 6:05.
That's fine. It's all right, Chris.
Asat and Hamelina of SWAT, and JYP and Ukraine of SWAT down in the bottom as well. I think points per game is a decent way of doing it. It looks like it might not obviously have a real impact until the end of the season. So.
Indeed. So once again, the Finnish Liga, like we've mentioned in the last couple of weeks, is going to be great, because we're going to have several of the other leagues that we're talking about the playoffs at the moment. They're going to round up. Then we're going to have a few different leagues that we can talk about that when their playoffs start. So, plenty of stuff to look forward to. Next up, we have the Swiss National League. We've only got a couple of leagues left to go, because it's probably worth mentioning once again that the Norwegian Fjordkraft Ligaen still haven't played any games recently. We don't really know what's going on with them.
I don't know what's going on. I had a look, and in badly Google translated Norwegian, it seems as though they might just have cancelled the season.
Yeah.
Because no further fixtures are planned, and I had a look, and things are not that the English variant of COVID appeared over there. It kind of didn't go too well for them over there, and so I think that it was really conflicting, because there was leagues that had been cancelled, but it wasn't among there. And then the next article, they were encouraging children to go out and play ice hockey. And so I didn't really figure it out, but I think it might have just completely cancelled. But as soon as I get confirmation, I'll let you know.
Basically, we might have to hold a memorial service for the Norwegian Fjordkraft League, and we'll get like the trumpet and everything. We'll have a moment of silence for them. But anyway, let's talk about the Swiss National League, because there is one team that is absolutely dominating the Swiss National League, and that is EV Zug. 98 points in 42 games played. They have won a lot of games recently. The only team that secured themselves either a first-round berth or a playoff berth. So, they're doing really well for themselves. Then we've got Fribourg Gotteron.
Yeah, they've now secured themselves a quarter-final.
Yeah.
They've secured themselves the first-round bye.
Yep, they're doing great. So then the other first-round bye spots as it stands right now, we have Fribourg Gotteron in 2nd place, Geneva Servette HC in 3rd place, the Zurich Lions in 4th place, although they're tied in 3rd place with points, but Zurich have played 2 more games, and they've lost both of them, so it's not really the best job for them. BLBN, 74 points. They're on a bit of a run at the moment, in 5th place. HC Lugano in 6th place. That's the first-round byes as it stands right now. Then the playoff berths, Lausanne, who have got plenty of games left to play this season. HC Davos, the Rapperswil Jona Lakers, and SC Bern. They've made the jump up, Chris. Look at that.
I know.
And, I mean, to be fair, they have lost their last 2 games, but they have plenty of games in hand, so they should be all right. And then, in the kind of play-out round, although that's not the relegation round, but it's not happening this year because of COVID, HC Ambri Piotta and the Langau Tigers. Well, to be fair, the Langau Tigers are already 14 points back. 3 games in hand, to be fair, but they've only won 1 of their last 5 games, so it's not looking too good for them. It's not looking too good for Ambri Piotta either. So basically, to summarise this league, Zug are dominating and the Langau Tigers aren't doing very well. Anything else you'd like to add, Chris?
Zug are like 2 games away from securing the top spot.
Wow.
Zurich have climbed a couple of places.
Hey.
Biella up 3 places from last week, from 8th to 5th.
Nice.
Ambry Piotta have dropped into the what would be relegation group. And Rapperswil and Bern have climbed their places. So for the first time, as you said, since we properly started to look at this, Bern have found themselves in a playoff position. Still got 10 games to go, so they could get up to 75 in theory.
Wow.
Obviously, practice is going to be quite a bit different. So there's got the season runs, according to my notes, to April 5th, so a few weeks left of that as well. And then we get into the playoffs there, where I imagine that the first round might be a best of 5 or best of 3, perhaps. But yeah, we'll wait to see what happens. But yeah, Zug by this time next week may well have secured the title.
Which just goes to show you how dominant they've been. I feel like Zug, like for the first 2 months of the season, they were kind of, just going about their business. Decent team, but they weren't quite, dominating. But then like for the last 3 or 4 months of the season, pretty much since the league, got past all of its postponement problems and all of its issues and delayed games, they just went, you know what, we're just going to go and dominate the league. Can we go dominate the league? Yeah, let's go dominate the league. And then they went and dominated the league, and here we are. So
I mean, what are they? 33, 3 and 6.
Oh wow. 33, 3 and 6. Oh my God. I love it.
I love what I love is the fact that like they're top of the league, they've got 3 losses. Second place has 15. Like that's just how. And the next lowest is 12. So they've got 9 fewer losses than anybody else.
I mean, I feel like we might have to give them the award of the most dominant team in Europe by the end of the year.
Yeah, might well have to. Yeah,
like the best record in Europe. I think we need to do
we'll do like at the end of the season we'll do like an alternative awards ceremony.
We need to do the Europuck Awards, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yes, I'll find like a glittery jacket, and, like the Oscars, and a golden envelope.
I love it. So anyway, let's move on to the penultimate league that we're going to be looking at, and that is the German DEL. Now, I would imagine they're getting pretty close to the end of their first round of the regular season, because they've played about 24 games each, right?
I had a look this morning.
Okay.
Let me just have a look. The first round finishes tonight. The final game is
Wolfsburg versus Cologne.
One left. Yeah, and Boom. It starts in just under a quarter of an hour.
Oh, interesting. Okay, fair enough. So,
that's the end of the first round.
Okay, awesome. So I'll read out the standings as pretty much the final standings, barring one game between Wolfsburg and Cologne. So the Berlin Ice Bears, I should say, 52 points in 24 games after the first round. Bremerhaven, 46 points. Both teams 4-game winning streaks to end the first round. The Eislowen Roosters 37 points, Wolfsburg with 35 points, and the Cologne Sharks with 33 points. So there is the potential for Cologne to sit in the 4th place by the end of this first round, but we need to wait and see what the final result is.
Yep.
Then Düsseldorf EG in 6th place with 31 points, at least a 5-game losing streak, and the Krefeld Penguin 15 points in 24 games. They've allowed double the amount of goals, 101 goals this season. Oh, Lord. Then we have the South Division. So 58 points in 24 games for Adler Mannheim. Red Bull Munich taking 2nd place with 46 points. Ingolstadt with 42 points on the season so far. And the Schweiniger Wild Wings, they've made it into the 4th seed in the South Division. So sorry, Tomo. Then the Straubing Tigers, 29 points. The Augsburg Panthers, 27 points. And the Nuremberg Ice Tigers, 17 points. And they have got points in 3 of their last 5 games, but they lost every single one. Chris, your thoughts and the latest updates on the standings regarding the DEL?
Okay, the Roosters in the north, Isham Roosters, they climbed a couple of places. Cologne have gone above Dusseldorf as well. They really dropped off. Dusseldorf have now lost 6 straight. In the south, the only movement is Straubing and Augsburger have swapped. But as we say, kind of looking at the playoffs, it's kind of a bit pointless now because we know that there is this extra. So everyone's going to play another 14 games, which is everybody in the other conference home and away. So they're going to finish on 38 games for the season. So there's another 42 points on offer. So obviously absolutely anything could happen at the moment. The only thing that can't happen, or it could just, but No, Krefeld Pinguin can't finish the regular season with the best record because even if they win all 14 games, they only finish on 57 and Adler Mannheim are already on 58.
Oh.
No. But, they could still make the playoffs.
They could. Will they? Probably not.
No.
Sorry, Krefeld.
They've got to win at least 8 out of their 14 games.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, crazy things have happened, right? And they've got to rely on everybody else losing all of their games as well.
Yeah.
They've got to rely on everybody else pulling a Krefeld. That's the look at the German DEL. Obviously, we're only about halfway through the season, 2/3 of the way through the season, so there's still plenty of hockey left to play there, more so than the other leagues around. Let's finish off looking at our leagues, Chris, with the one, the only French League Magnus. Now, Chris, you said you had some stuff to talk about regarding this. Go.
I'm gonna start on a positive point.
Okay.
Congratulations to Rouen for qualifying for next year's Champions Hockey League.
Hey, well done, Rouen. Woo! Yeah. Were they supposed to be in it last year?
I'll be honest, I can't remember.
Anyway, carry on.
But basically, whilst Ongers could match them in terms of points, Rouen will have more regulation wins.
Okay.
So Rouen would, even in a head-to-head, Rouen would take top spot. So that's why they're qualified.
Okay.
So Rouen have got the Champions Hockey season, and they're now one of, 6 teams that are qualified for the Champions Hockey League for next season. Klagenfurt and Bolzano from the Ice Hockey League, Trinek and Sparta Prague from the Czech Extraliga, and of course Frölunda for being defending champions.
I see.
The big news in the French League Magnus is they have made a decision about what they're going to do.
Hey, and what is it, Chris?
Some weird mathematical thing.
Of course. Your favourite.
So, again, this is in broken Google Translate French to English.
So it means it's 100% accurate, and whatever Chris says is verbatim, and if you disagree with it, it's his fault.
What they're doing is any of these games that were already in what I'm going to call the second half of the season, so the second lot of home and aways, rather than declaring them null and void, which is what we suggested.
Yes.
They're going to apply them in what they're calling the rule of 3. And from what I understand, they are taking the results from the 3 games. So Nice against Bordeaux, for example, they played 3 games. They're adding up the points that the teams got in those 3 games. So, for example, Bordeaux got 6 out of 9 in those 3 games.
Okay.
And then they're taking the average points per game. So dividing it by 3 and timesing it by 2, which means Bordeaux would have got 4 points out of a possible 6 rather than 6 points out of a possible 9, which means they lose 2 points. So if you look at the table, it's not been applied yet, but Bordeaux will drop from 26 to 24.
I hate it. I had
a look at this. And I keep... Right, Briançon, they lose 2 points to drop down to 11.
Right.
The rule of 3 can't yet be applied to the Nice Anglais series or the Rouen Anglais series because that's not been done yet.
Okay.
However, I have gone through it for all the Nice games that you can apply, and they lose 3.8 points.
So they're going to round that up to 4?
I don't know if they're going to do that.
Are they going to round it up or down?
Nice will drop from 26 where they are now to 22.2.
See, I hate it, French League.
Now,
what are we doing?
With the one game that Nice and Anglais have got to play, that might round out to a nice figure.
Yeah.
Or it could go something even more random, like 3.4 or something. But,
do you know what I think they should have done? There's a couple of other options. Now, obviously, declaring those games null and void was our initial option, right? But it was clear the French League didn't want to do that. So my next suggestion, before I say it, Grenoble was the team that was supposed to play in the Champions Hockey League during the 2021 season. They're in 3rd place at the moment, so sucks for them that they didn't get their chance to play in the CHL. But Rouen, well done. They've been there before, as far as I'm aware. So, but yeah, the other option. Why didn't they just take a page from the Danish league's idea and just give each team 0.5 points for the amount of games they played?
Yeah, I suppose their argument is that, if you've won the games, you shouldn't lose out. But at the same point in time, when you're dividing by 3 and then multiplying by 2, you lose out anyway.
Exactly. And then you've got the decimal points to worry about, where you might have to round it up or round it down or round it sideways. Like, no,
it wouldn't surprise me if they just left it.
Why have the French League made this so difficult and confusing? Guys, either say the games are null and void and go, okay, we're going to either replay the matches, we'll figure out something else, or just go, right, okay, actually, we're going to give you half the amount of points that you gained from those games that you were being wiped out. Give you half the amount of points, or we, give you 0.5 points for each game. Like, let's be honest, the 2020/21 League Magnus season has been dead in the water since the very beginning. It's been cursed, let's be perfectly honest. It really has not gone very well.
The other thing I found interesting, and I can't find the article again right now, is that all this went to a vote.
Oh, what? And they voted for it? Oh.
I kind of feel like I've got to try and find this article again now. It got voted on, and it's going to take forever to load up. And I think something like they voted on a number of things. Number one was they were getting rid of the... Oh, that's the other thing. They've decided to scrap the playoffs.
Oh, that's kind of big news, Chris.
I forgot if I told you that. Did I not tell you that?
No, you didn't tell me. So,
hang on.
You heard it here first, folks. The French League Magnus, no more playoffs.
I could have sworn. Yeah, I did tell you that. I put it on the chat, didn't I?
No, I think you told me that, but you haven't mentioned it in the episode. And you expect me to remember it? Come on, Chris. What's going on?
Right. So, the French League. If I can get it to load up soon enough, I will. But so they've decided. I think they voted by 7 teams to 5 to cancel the playoffs. I bet you can't guess who who voted for that.
Is it maybe the teams that didn't make the playoffs, Chris?
Plus teams like Rouen, who are already guaranteed to win the league.
He's like, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Be fine. They've also cancelled the French Cup because the French amateur sides in the divisions below that are still in it can't play.
Fair enough. Okay, that's the most logical thing I think the French League has done all season. Well done, French League. You got one thing right. I'm proud of you.
Was it that one? Yeah, I think it was that one. This is on the Bureau Directeur, c'est la saison 2020/2021.
I can tell someone did French in high school. Were you top set, Chris? Were you top set?
No, definitely not.
I was considered gifted and more able in French in high school, which is the most hilarious thing.
I only did it at GCSE because we were forced to.
Yeah.
Right. So, let me have a look. I've got it up now. Yeah. So the rule of 3 applies. So yes. So there are no playoffs.
Okay.
At the end of the season. So the title of French champion will be awarded to the winner of the regular season, which you already know is going to be Bolzano. They've cancelled the French Cup. And then they're trying to work out the hierarchy of European places. I'm guessing it's probably now going to go to the runner-up of the French League, because it was going to be champion of France gets Champions Hockey League, and then the Continental Cup. Winner of the Cup de France, not happening.
Yep.
Regular season winner is now also the champion of France.
Yep.
Finalist of the French Championship and finalist of the Coupe de France. It's going to have to be regular season.
Yeah.
So, so 7 out of the 12 sides voted to not have the playoffs.
Okay.
They unanimously the clubs unanimously decided that the Champions Hockey League will go to the winner of the regular season.
That's understandable.
That's understandable. I'm trying to find out where the other... 7 out of the 12 teams decided to stop the competition, as I've just said. I'm trying to find the rest of the...
If I find that
was the only thing.
If I find that they all voted unanimously to do this whole point scheme that they've decided, I'm going to be so mad at the French League. Like, what are we doing, guys? Come on.
Okay, so... now here we go, yeah. So the clubs were asked to decide on the method of calculating the matches played before the entry into the competition formula happened. It was previously agreed. I'm not sure where it was previously agreed, but anyway, it was previously agreed that the matches would be taken into account in the final standings.
Okay.
So they were given methods. They were given, I don't quite understand it, a rule of 3 that applies throughout the season.
Okay.
I think that was I'm not entirely sure what that was. And then a rule of 3 applies only to the matches played between 2 teams, which is what I've gone for.
So I would imagine what they're saying is that they either wanted to do the rule of 3 for the entire regular season, so every single game that was played, which would have made it so much more complicated, or just the games that were in question. Yeah, that would have been
stupid.
Yeah, so they obviously voted to go for just the games in question.
The second option was adopted unanimously by the clubs present.
French League, I'm so disappointed in you.
All 12?
Just give every team 0.5 points or give them half of the points that they earned, because that would still make it relatively fair, like French League. Come on, guys. This season's been...
They decided that it was impossible to organise the Coupe de France and the regular season in the time. So 7 out of the 12 teams voted no regular season, which I'm guessing is probably the 4 teams that weren't going to make it, plus like teams at the top or something.
Yeah.
And then they unanimously decided this rule of 3. Hey!
Because of course they did. So the French League, we're not actually going to know what the final standings are until the final standings come in, because I
kind of get a rough idea, but until they come in and they've decided what their maths are going to be.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Chris, out of spite for how stupid their thing is, I'm not making you work it out. Like, you get a night off, mate. You're fine. This is basically my new Black Wings lens. I need a new one, can you tell?
This is so that. Yes, you're so right.
But yeah, so that's the French. Is there anything else to report on the French League, Chris? Because I kind of want to get to the quiz. Okay, perfect.
No, I've just done it all now.
Wonderful. So we are going to finish up the podcast with a quiz. Now, I can't remember if we did one last week. Yes. No, we didn't, because there was no special day and we didn't have time to get one. So
correct.
The quiz is coming back, ladies and gents, and that's how we'll finish up the episode. I don't know how many questions.
There's a special day today.
Oh, is it a special day?
5 plus a bonus.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Right. So I'll start off by saying, Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Hey!
So, this week's quiz is about Ireland.
Love it.
And people called Patrick.
I see. Okay. Fair enough.
Right. Question number 1. How many Irish players have played in the NHL?
Oh, I hate you, Chris. See, part of me wants to say 0, but there's probably like 2 obscure guys that made it was either right back in the 1920s.
I will give you a clue. They were all I think the latest one left in 1950 something.
I knew it. I'm going to say 5.
Ooh, 4.
Oh, close. Who are they, Chris?
Jim McFadden, who was a centre, played 412 games.
Nice.
Scored 226 points.
Damn.
And let's have a look. He played 7 seasons, 4 with Detroit and 3 with Chicago's. He won the Calder Memorial Trophy in 1947-48, 48 points in 60 games, and won the Stanley Cup with Detroit in 49-50.
Nice. Not a bad career for the Irishman.
And he won that. There's also then Jack Riley.
Okay.
Who was born in 1910, so that just kind of tells you what we're going with here. Played 2 seasons with Montreal and then 8 games with Boston. He got the Lester Patrick Trophy in 1985 and 86. I'm guessing that's some kind of recognition trophy.
Yes.
Can't remember what it's for off the top of my head, but...
Lester Patrick Trophy. I feel like that's... I might be wrong on this. I probably should know this, but it's I feel like it's dedication to community or something.
Yeah, honour a recipient's contribution to ice hockey in the United States.
There we go. Okay.
There you
nice.
go.
Very nice.
Then you've got Sid Finney, who had 2 and a bit seasons with Chicago.
When?
And then long time ago.
Okay.
1951 to 54.
Fair enough.
And finally, Bobby Kirk, who played 39 games in 1937-38 for the New York Rangers.
Hey, my boys.
Scoring 4 goals.
Nice. It's more than most people
Okay,
get
so
in
you
their
go
life.
4.
Okay, nice.
That's very true. Right. Believe it or not, Ireland has a national ice hockey team.
Yes.
And they joined the IIHF in 1996.
Ah, the year I was
The
born.
problem is that, yes, and me. The problem is they don't meet participation requirements anymore because of the closure of the Dundalk Ice Dome.
Oh.
What I want to know is, what is the highest division they reached?
3B.
No, you're doing them
am
disservice.
I?
They reached Division 2.
Ah, which one in Division 2? 2A, 2B? Or just 2?
Just Division 2. Yeah.
I would.
Okay.
I would imagine it's like there wasn't that many countries playing back in the 90s.
No, so
2000s.
they reached it in 2008. And in 2008 they got relegated straight back down into Division 3. They faced Serbia, Bulgaria, Belgium, Romania, and Israel.
Interesting.
Losing every single game.
Oh, no.
And then they also got back up. They got back up in 2011, where they faced Bulgaria, China, Romania, Croatia, and Iceland, losing every single game.
Oh, no.
4 of those games they got shut out. They only scored against Croatia.
Oh, no.
Right.
Ouch.
I'm sticking with this Ireland theme here. What is Ireland's biggest win in IIHF competition?
Oh. I have no idea. I'm going to say 5-0.
Again, you're doing them a disservice.
Really?
It came in 2005. It was against Armenia.
Oh, yes, that hockey nation, yes.
They won 23-1.
Okay, fair play to them. I was not expecting that.
We'll flip it. What's Ireland's biggest defeat in IIHF competition?
Oh, it's got to be like 35-2. It's not, but like...
Is that what you're going with?
No, I'm going to go with 12-1.
22-0.
Ah, okay. I was close with the first guess.
You were. Against Romania in Division 2 in 2011.
Oh.
But yes, Ireland are now in like development cups. They've played in Andorra. They lost in 2017, they lost to Morocco.
Ooh.
They beat Portugal.
Hey.
They beat Andorra.
Hey.
And then lost. They finished runner-up in that. They lost to Morocco again in the final. And then in 2018, they lost to Macedonia, lost to Portugal, beat Andorra, and then lost to Portugal in the semi-final, and then beat Andorra 8-7 in the bronze medal game.
Hey!
So
yes, Irish hockey.
There we go. So they haven't played in like the development cup for the last few years either. So
yeah, it doesn't help that their only ice rink has been closed.
Yeah. Final thing about Ireland then. Which European side, I'll narrow it down for you a bit, has Ireland played the most?
Which European side has Ireland played the most?
Now, bear in mind, you're thinking about, like, you've seen the teams that they're playing. We're not talking, like, Germany's here.
Canada. I am going to say that the hockey powerhouse that is the Republic of Ireland, because it's just the south of Ireland, right? We're not talking Northern Ireland as well.
They are kind of combined.
Oh, okay.
Like the Irish rugby is.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's it is deemed Republic of Ireland, but they've got members from Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and it has a working relationship with the Belfast Giants.
Oh, fair play then. Okay. So, the mighty Irish hockey team, the juggernaut, the ageless dynasty that they are, I think they have played their most games against Bulgaria.
No, but they have played Bulgaria.
Well, because I went
Luxembourg.
Okay, I went based on the like groups of the IIHF that you read earlier.
Yeah. It's Luxembourg. They've played them 8 times, won 3, lost 5.
Okay. Almost 500.
So, almost 500, yes. Right. Here we go.
Is this the final question or the bonus question?
No, this is the bonus question.
Okay, let's do it.
So you've got nothing so far.
I got close on a couple of them.
St. Patrick's Day quiz.
Well, I mean, because everybody knows about Irish ice hockey, Chris.
How many Patricks are in the NHL right now?
Oh, are we talking first name or first or second name?
This is first name.
First name. Okay.
And I'm taking like slightly different spellings of it because some like
Patrick
don't have
Laine.
the C in it.
Yeah, Patrick Laine.
That's one.
You're thinking of.
I'll give you one for every. I'll give you one for. I'll give you a point for every.
Okay. See, I was going to go with Nolan Patrick, but that's his last name, so I guess he doesn't count, right?
That is his last name, yes.
Okay, so
you've got Patrick Laine,
Patrick Kane, obviously.
2.
Ooh. Other Patricks. There can't be that many more.
Well, I mean, by all means, have a guess at the number, and I'll tell you if you're there or not.
I'm going to say there's 4.
There's more than 4.
Really?
Yeah.
There's more than 4 Patricks in the NHL. Why can't I think of any of them then?
There's a couple that you'll kick yourself on.
We're talking like, Patrick Maroon. He's one. He plays
Patrick Maroon.
Yep, Patrick Maroon. He plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Won the cup with them. And won the cup with the Blues.
Have a look at this.
2-time cup champion. Patrick Maroon.
I'm having a look at this because the NHL's not got him on there.
What, Patrick Maroon?
Yeah, he's not on there. Hang on.
Who am I thinking of then? It is Patrick Maroon.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, I'm just trying to find
Patrick Maroon, Chris. He's won 2 straight Stanley Cup championships.
Honestly, I am on the NHL stats right now.
Okay. So Laine, Kane, Maroon. I know there used to be Patrick Weirkosh.
I'll give you a bonus one there then.
Yeah, like Patrick Weirkosh, but he doesn't play in the league anymore. Patrick Hornquist.
Yes.
Yes, okay, 4.
Yep. That's 3. Oh, so 4 with this Maroon. I'm just going to look this Maroon up.
He's won 2 straight Stanley Cups, Chris.
I know. I'm not doubting you. I'm doubting the NHL. They're not on. It's not on here.
So I've got Kane, Laine, Maroon, and who's the one I just said? Oh yeah, Hornquist. Would PK Subban count? Is his first name Patrick?
I don't know if it is Patrick.
Could you check for me?
It's not on here again anyway.
Could you check for me?
Yeah, but I will, but it's not on.
I'm trying to think of what PK stands for.
I'll check. I'll give you Patrick Maroon because that doesn't. I mean, just that even includes this season. NHLstats.com. What are you doing?
So what? Yeah, what's PK Subban's first name? I could have sworn it was Patrick. Might not be.
Yeah, it might be.
Because then, if so, I've got 5, and I'm happy with that.
This is bringing my whole quiz into disrepute, isn't it? Just because NHL is just, I love it. Everything just calls it PK.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to go to his Wikipedia page.
No, it's Purnell.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, of course it is. Okay, so I got 4. I'm going to say there's 7 then, because I can't really think of many more.
Okay, well, the NHL has 8.
Okay,
but we found more that
we found 9.
Doesn't have on here.
Okay. So who are the other ones?
So Patrick Marleau.
Oh, of course. Oh, I'm so stupid.
1,749 games.
Well, he's going to break Hal's record potentially by the end of the year. Maybe next season.
Yep. So you got Kane.
Yep.
I kind of put a question mark because I'm kind of not counting it for Patrice for Bergeron.
Yeah, his name's Patrice. Yeah, he doesn't count. He's Patrice.
You got Hornquist.
Yep.
You got Laine.
Yep.
Patrick Nemeth.
Oh, Patrick Nemeth. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Patrick Nemeth.
Is he with the Detroit
Patrick
Red
Russell.
Wings? Patrick Russell. I've never heard that name before. He must be a newbie to the league.
Okay, Patrick has played 58 games.
He's a depth guy
Patrick
for
Russell.
sure.
Yeah, bear with me while I load his stats up. He probably is a depth guy for sure. He's got what? He's 10 minutes on ice, something like that. Edmonton Oilers, been in the league 3 seasons. He's only played 7 games this season. Though.
He must be. Maybe he's Chris Russell's brother or something, or they're related. I don't know.
And then the last one that's on the NHL stats, although we've now determined that it's completely rubbish, is Patrick Brown.
Never heard of him in my entire life.
He's a Vegas Golden Knights player.
Okay.
Has been in the league since 2014.
He's not been a regular in the league, has he?
Games,
yeah, I was going to say.
7 games that season, 7 games the season after, 14 games the season after, 1 game last season, and 2 games the season after that.
I mean,
I'm just going to click on...
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to click on active and inactive and get more players up. So what else have we got? I'm trying to find... I wonder if he's down as something completely different on the NHL website.
Maybe he's Pat Maroon. He might be Pat Maroon.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's where it goes.
Take the search down to Pat.
Yeah, he's Pat Maroon.
If I take the search down to Pat, let's have a look. There's a load more if you do that. Yeah, Pat Maroon is on there. There you go.
Okay, so maybe not the bonus point because he's known as Pat Maroon in the league. So I don't mind rescinding that point.
Yeah, but Patrick Marleau is the Patrick with the most points.
Other than Patrick Marleau, I should have got him, but other than that, I'm quite happy that...
Yeah, other than that, you probably wouldn't have really got most of the rest.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
I could have just gone, insert Patrick, and then just say a random colour, and I would have got... I might have got
surname,
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that quiz, Chris.
The other best Patrick, who only retired a couple of years ago, is Patrick Elias.
Indeed. Very good for the New Jersey Devils. Played his entire career there.
New Jersey... Yeah, 1995 to 2016, 1,240 games and 1,025 points.
Yeah, they don't really make him much like him anymore, do they? And he was there for the New Jersey Devils neutral zone trap era, which all hockey fans loved because it was their favourite era of hockey, and it was so high scoring and fun, and everyone loves it. Everyone except New Jersey Devils fans hate it because the Devils won 2 cups during that era, and it was the most boring hockey in the world. But I digress. On that note, actually, speaking of the New Jersey Devils and how much they suck, I think this is a really good point to end this week's episode of the Europuck podcast. Thanks for watching, guys, or listening, whether it be the video version on YouTube, the audio version on wherever you get your podcasts. We really do appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming out. If you want to keep updated on all things Europuck podcast or send us your thoughts, opinions, or questions, either from today's show or for our next show, if you want to let us know how well you did on the quiz, then you can send us your thoughts on Twitter at Europuck Podcast and on Instagram at Europuck Podcast. Send us your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed listening to either or both of your hosts today, which we hope you do because it has been about an hour and 20 minutes, then you can follow myself on Twitter at OddmanRushYT or Chris at Chris_Gadsby. Thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good one, folks.